Hey, Thrand here, and I'm here with a long-awaited episode. And if you notice what I have in my hand, this is a true Warbow. It's over 70 pounds. It's a 105-pound draw at 32 inches. And I have a special sponsor to thank for this that actually obtained the longbow for this episode. I'd also like to start off with a shout out to James Jenkins and Daniel Pearson. They've been longing for this episode for a very long time and speaking with me about it. We finally have the ability to make it come true. We're going to be covering the English Longbow, or the English Longbowmen. Some people say Welsh Longbowmen, or the Yeoman of early period, such as the Robin Hood types, so to speak. We've got a longbow, we've got various forms of arrows. I have a sharp bodkin here. This type of bodkin style, I've sharpened it and it's hardened on a nice arrow, the medieval style arrow. Hopefully with a 105-pound draw, should be able to pierce this breastplate or at least show some kind of damage to it. We haven't had arrows do anything to it yet, so this should be one interesting test. I don't know if the arrows are going to explode. Hopefully my aim is true and I can draw the bow to its maximum draw length. Actually, these arrows are actually 31.5 inches, not 32 inches. So if I can go to about here to the socket, that's about 31.5 inches. So we're going to get at least 102.5 pounds behind that arrow. I think that will be pretty devastating. But I'd like to say that we have a sponsor who paid for the bow and for the episode, everything we did in this episode. Yes, it is a fantasy game, a very cool game. And it's called Raid Shadow Legends. I play the game myself, and they contacted me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in something like this. I said, most certainly. We would love to do some kind of test, but I'd like to put a disclaimer in, because a lot of people don't understand how this works. They're paying to see a historical test, a real 15th century breastplate, a munitions grade shot with a 105-pound bow. That's what they want to see. They don't pay for results. There's no results that are expected, just that archers were very powerful and very historical figures that went right into like Robin Hood and fantasy like we have now in our games, such as this wonderful game, Raid's Shadow Legends. But anyway, not to not give them their proper respect, let's go right into a word about our sponsor. I would like to take this time to thank our humble sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, it's an exciting game. I've been playing it myself, and they contacted me and said that they would fund this episode. Well, they more than were happy to help us procure the bow and to set up our test today. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about the game. It's an awesome game. Forget what you know about mobile games. For the most ambitious project of 2019 has just been released, Raid's Shadow Legends. Playing Raid's Shadow Legends is the most immersive game you can experience on a smartphone, next to playing PC and console games. And best of all, it's totally free. Raids has all the features you would expect from a modern RPG, such as an awesome storyline, spectacular 3D graphics, giant boss battles, ferocious PvP combat, and best of all, hundreds of champions that you can collect and customize. I never expected the level of detail that they would put into these characters, both historical and fantasy. If you look at the yeomen and the archers in the game, a lot of them look very historical, like I'm dressed in honor of the game for them sponsoring this video. And then some of them are just outlandishly fantasy, but very much like the old D&D that everyone knows. And remember, Raids is getting big fast, so get in early to get a huge head start. There's going to be special launch tournaments with crazy in-game prizes and actual real-life prize packages. But before you do all that, be sure and join my clan. You just have to search for it on Raids, Thrand's Boat Crew, and hit me up on there. So go to the description and download Raids only through my links and get 50,000 silver immediately, plus a free epic champion, part of the new player program, courtesy of the dev team, and I will see you there. We have our Valkyrie, our mannequin, set up here with her ballistics gelatin belly, or jelly belly, and it's covered with 32 layers of coarse woven linen. Linen was quite often used for Archeybowmans or Gambesons. and it would a lot of times have tighter woven linen, I grant you, but this is 32 layers of very coarse linen, and it's fairly tightly woven. So we'll go ahead and try this out. We've tested it in quite a few videos, and we're going to first start off with my longest arrow and worst point. This is an actual practice point. It's not a razor head or anything that might have a chance of going through that and cutting through all those fibers. So technically this shouldn't go through, but it should have most power of all the arrows, because this is all exactly 32 inches or over. If I go past the metal tip, I don't know if I can draw that far. Probably not, you know, the length of arm. But believe it or not, in medieval England, if you were out practicing with your bow and you weren't using a practice point, which are actually blunts, they were worse than this. They were only for hunting rabbits and shooting into hay and stuff, and they caught you with a razor head or a swallowtail or something that was used to kill deer or men, you would be fined or imprisoned or maybe even executed, because they would think you were highwaymen like Robin Hood. Where did it hit? And how was me draw? I don't know how far back I got that, Caddy. Okay, we hit it right here over the ballistics gelatin. This is a good hit. We got her right here. She would have been hurt, but there is no way that penetrated into the actual flesh. She might have some kind of rupturing under here or damage such as that, but it was not able to go through the 32 layers. So you can see, even though this isn't a blunt like they would recommend, that would be much larger and used just for hunting rabbits, it still wasn't able to go through the actual armor. So maybe you could get away with something like that if you had it. Okay, one of the special abilities of being an archer back in the day was having multiple different arrows for different jobs and tasks. This is a razor head. This is a leaf-shaped razor head, very much like some of the Viking leaf-shaped spears. And the idea behind it, it gives you a nice broad wound. It's sharp where it can cut through Gambeson, like behind me, but it can also penetrate deeper because it's not as broad as like the swallowtails and the larger arrowheads that are made and designed to cut through horses and actually Gambeson as well and get stuck in the man. This one has a better chance of penetrating that behind me. And there was a various array of razor heads that you could have carried and you would have carried to take out horses and to take other men like yourself that might be wearing Gambesons or unarmored levies with nice razor heads, because they are most effective. Ooh. And I'm going to say she's dead. Just as we said, the razor head has the capability, let me sit my longbow over here so nothing happens to it. That is amusing and impressive. The other arrow, without a sharp point, and it's supposed to be a practice point, and that's what they're supposed to be made for, safety. And yes, it's made a lot more like a modern one than an old blunt for hunting rabbits or something with larger fletchings. But let's take this off, because I think we've completed our test, because we've seen how hard it was to penetrate this material before. Very, very difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out of her, if I can.
If the head will come with it.
Out and leaving it where it's at in the cloth, so that way we see how much penetration we truly got. And the head's not with it, because
that's what I was trying to say.
They're lightly attached. They did that with certain arrowheads. Some they were attached securely. This one's lightly attached because it's exactly what it would have been used for. If you were to pull this out of the other warrior,
the bleeding would increase.
The bleeding would increase, the head would stay in there, they couldn't remove it, and the arrow couldn't really be used again against someone armored. Can you see it well on the camera? Mm-hmm. They could not be used, because now it's just a stick, and we've done a video about that before in the past where we test sharpened sticks, and yeah, they plug the hole, the guy's not going to die quickly if he doesn't pull it out, and they won't even take animals down very quickly. So
we may get the head out later
go.
And reattach it.
Right. I don't know. I don't want to be cutting it. I might dissect this one at the end of this video, which is something I normally don't do. We already had some damage to the ballistics gel. This is an older block, but the backside had no other damages. This is where it went in. And if you look, it split a way bigger hole than it has from the impact and the force. We're seeing the actual wound channel in the center, and this split is from the actual impact. So that means even if this thing didn't go through the material you were wearing, it would hurt you. It would give you such a thump that it would knock all the wind out of you and just dishearten you immediately. If you knew you got hit with an arrow like that, you wouldn't even know how bad you were hurt.
And
but we'll get that out in a moment.
We'll get that out at the end of the testing to see how far it went through the jump.
Yeah, that was impressive though. I am extremely impressed. And what made all the difference was the really sharp head able to cut through the material and spread it just enough to allow the shaft to follow through without slowing it down. Oh, and as for how deep we got, that's over 5 inches. I think she's
it's
dead.
out her back.
Yeah, it's out her back. Okay.
Okay. We've just put the Gambeson on and the chain for the chain test.
This is 16 layers, just to let them know that. 16 layers of cloth, and yes, at this later century, if you were wearing Maille as standalone, you would have had an Archeybowman or a Gambeson or something under. You would have had something, or maybe even over it, but we're just going under it for this one.
In the process of putting this on, we did find one little surprise.
Yeah,
if we move her forward and pull her shirt up very carefully,
I almost cut my finger off.
We found the arrow came out right out her back.
Through the hard plastic shell. So yeah, off that ballistics gel, all those layers of cloth.
This is going to be fun to remove though.
Yeah.
Without damaging her anymore.
I'm definitely not using that to hunt deer. I think it would go out one side and out the other. I don't think it would stop.
Actually, it'd probably be a good thing. They'd bleed out faster and die faster.
Possible.
And more likely you'd find the body.
True.
But as you can see from here, yeah, I don't think we need to test how far through the ballistics gel it went.
Yeah. And I don't think they would have found the head anyway when they pulled it out, because it would have been out the back side unless they would have recovered it. Wow, that was impressive. I was extremely impressed with what it did with 32 layers of Gambeson or cloth, the actual cloth armor, the actual linen, coarse woven, tightly woven coarse linen. Right now we have our famed Maille that we've tested many times. We tested at Auspoke Viking Martial Arts with Roland Varzeka. Swords were not able to pierce it. The only thing we got through it with was a highly tapered spear point, and I was able to somewhat get through it with the spearhead that we did in the recent video, the Thunderbolt, or Thunderbolt, what somebody said it was actually supposed to be pronounced. But anyway, this is very difficult to go through. I've repaired it. It's 4-in-1 rings, 17 gauge, solid flat stamped rings, round stock rings every other row, riveted. The same thing up here, except this one is slightly larger rings. It's I believe about 18 gauge, and they're flat, solid stamped rings and riveted flat rings. Now this X is double Maille. It kind of hangs over the top of the gel here. I'm not aiming for this, but if we do hit it, it gives us something more exciting to hit. And we also have our regular region right here we're going to aim at. And underneath here I have 16 layers of cloth, the same cloth, because at the time period they would have actually worn an Archeybowman or a Gambeson or something under it, or possibly even over it. So we're going to try that out, see how that works, and of course we've got our ballistics gel under there, and razor head that almost cut my finger off.
Yeah, one of these days we're going to have to take it out the back.
And for
do not hit the razor head with the needle.
Yeah, for this job we have a needle bodkin. I'm not using a sharp bodkin because they were made to go through plate normally, a little bit shorter, on more stout, and more of a tapered angle to punch a hole in the plate. The longer ones sometimes can break or damage the point. They might go in the plate, honestly, but we're going to use this one because it's so tapered that even if it doesn't break the rings and make it through, which I think it's got a good chance it will still possibly injure the warrior by compressing the Maille into the body, and what does slip through, you know, that inch or so may triple or double into the body. So that was a way a lot of times these needle bodkins killed you through the Maille, was if it wasn't really tightly woven Maille, which yes, they had that. They had it so tight you couldn't hardly stick the head of a pin in, but that wasn't the norm. These would slip through and actually wound the warrior. So let's go ahead with this pound of bow. I have a feeling it's going to actually go through. Ooh! But I would say this one has done its job. Now the question is, how deep? That's what we need to figure out. How deep is it gone? I want to know if it's cut rings, which I doubt that. It would have had to spread rings. But it looks like it's only up to the head itself. So we can almost pull this out. That's still a very deep wound. And remember me saying the body compresses. The body can actually compress with all the material.
Like the gel.
I don't know how easy this is going to be able to get out. It's past the socket. The socket, it's in there. So that's good. What we've done is we removed it, and we actually have the...
head is stuck in there.
Yeah, the head is stuck in there. So what we're going to have to do, this is the only test we'll be doing with the Maille, of course, because we've already defeated it. We will go ahead and examine her.
And it's a pain in the butt to dress it.
Yeah.
Especially in the Maille.
I think it was harder than drawing the bow for most of the video, just taking her Maille off and on her.
She does not understand that she's meant to move her arms.
Yeah, if I had to work in a shop and put Maille on mannequins, I think I would quit or commit suicide or something. I'd take the honorable way out. Okay, we're getting the Maille up here. You know, pull it up and get it past her. Sorry about bobbing the camera there.
It's fine. I'm trying to make sure that...
I want to show each step here. We're seeing how far it actually went. Now what I'm going to do is just pull the cloth off. I think that's our safest bet if I can get it out of here. Yep. So the extra poundage, for people who want to know, makes a difference. Did this make a difference though, the armor? Are we putting the armor down? No, this is better to have a wound like this than the extent it could have been. So what I'm going to do is...
The Gambeson's one?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying the extent of... Oh, we went into low gel. That might have made a difference.
We will have to do one more.
Yeah, we went into low gel, so the gel, basically what happened, didn't stop it as much as it should have because it kind of hit an area where... So there's a little less resistance than you have over the actual body. But still, let's just look at that from that standpoint. We have a 2-inch to 2 1/4 inch wound. That's pretty impressive. I might shoot her one more time, maybe.
Yeah. Try him a little bit higher.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were that far off. In further analysis of the Maille, I want to show what this tool did. This is basically a square bodkin and a needle bodkin. And what it does is it slips in between the rings, and if it goes straight in between, it just starts spreading something out. Now, if it would have got in one of these rings that was solid, I have a doubt that it would have went not as far, possibly. It probably would have, I mean, I doubt that it would have went as far, is what I'm trying to say, depending on how it went in. But it went right in between one that was riveted, and if you look right here, the rivet point tore the rivet through the actual ring hole on the other side and when it spread it that far. So what's the problem here? It could have been a bad ring, like it was too thin in that area. Because I'll be honest, modern Maille mongers, that people that do this, because it's time consuming and painstaking, don't pay attention, and they'll put a ring that's not stamped right in it. So that could be the reason. Maybe we'll get better results in the next one that'll do less damage, or possibly more damage, we don't know. Ooh! We went through her belt. Now that I didn't expect, and that's going to be our last test.
Directly at oh.
It hit over. We broke our arrow, so we don't have another needle bodkin. We broke our arrow.
You do know this is going to make it even more interesting trying to get her dressed and undressed.
Yeah, and it went through the actual leather belt. But I think the belt and the Maille, and the way it hit this
and the
too,
rivet that hit at the top.
Yeah, might have helped save her. She has a wound, but although this is into, I think that's into the actual mannequin. So the mannequin's hard. Can't really count that, but still, that was an impressive bow hit. And we shattered an arrow, which we can fix later.
That'll replace.
Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. It's raining, by the way. We're gonna have to quit soon. We had a shield we were going to shoot. I don't want this bow out in the rain very much longer. The Maille's no longer in the rain. That's why I didn't worry about trying to fix up an arrow and continue. But I think we'll come back later and have a lot of fun with this bow, thanks to our sponsor. Look at this here. This is our shark bodkin. It's a smaller triangle with a more acute point. That is to punch a hole in the plate and allow the shaft to go through. So hopefully this will work. We're going to try it. I'm really curious with a full draw, if I get this all the way back, if I'm going to be able to punch a hole in it, or whether it's going to glance. If it glances and we lose this arrow with the rain coming in, we're going to have to end the video. It's almost like it's live and you're here. Nothing we can do. And there's kind of a deadline on us. So let's go ahead and get this done and see if we can put a hole through that plate armor, or if she's injured at all through it. Oh! Let's see what that did. dead center. If anyone wants to know how strong this breastplate is, we punched a hole, but it wasn't able to penetrate.
Is there anything that can penetrate this thing?
More than that? Probably not. This is probably the same amount of force as that. That's giving me the idea this arrow is hitting, even though it's lighter, with enough joules of force to punch a hole like that, the same as that did here. So I'm thinking they hit with the same impact. That's my theory. And I know that didn't kill our knight, but that definitely would have given him a thump and a nerving. Look at the square hole. I'd have to sharpen it again to shoot it again. Like I said, it's raining. I don't know if we have time.
I believe we are running out of time.
And it blunted our point quite badly. It'd take a few minutes.
Yeah, well, one of our cameras is also dead.
Oh. But that's the best we've ever done shooting this breastplate. And the arrow didn't explode like it did with our 65, 70-pound bow and our lighter arrows with a improvised bodkin. It actually poked a hole, although it didn't kill our knight today, or our Joan of Arc, or whoever she represents. Enjoyed our episode. The way you can help our channel out is if you go down below to the link and download the video game and try it out. You can meet me there in the clan and we'll have a great time. I think it's an excellent game. It's completely free. It'll help our channel out too, because it'll show them that you appreciate what they've done for us today, getting the bow for the channel. Because from now on, when we do our bow testing, when we do our Warbow testing, we'll at least have something over 70 pounds. This is a 105-pound Warbow. It's an excellent bow. I love it. Don't know if you can see the actual, I don't know if I was showing the right area.
I'll show the back, yeah.
Oh, show the markings there. Actually shows that that is true. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our episode, and I think you can tell that we had a lot different results this time in our testing, and I hope it's made a lot of people happy.
To my bow.
Oh yeah, I won't have to use Caddy's bow anymore.
Stop breaking my bowstring.
Anyway, I hope everyone's enjoyed the video. Be sure and like, subscribe, and as always, Farewell. Ooh, a little bit low. Spectacular hit, but I would say we hit a little bit low, and she has it sticking out of her, I don't want to say which regions here, her nether regions, southern regions. I've got to see if I can remove the arrow.
You were aiming for her belly, though, never.
I'm trying to get used to this strong bow, and I try to get maximum draw. And guys, I'm going to not lie to you, that's a little bit lower than what I expected. I wanted to hit somewhere over the ballistic gelatin to see what it did. But it is actually, I don't know if they can see this, but...
Is it through her backside?
Well, you'd have to look here. You can see it through the...
My bad.
You might have moved my
GoPro. Did you?
GoPro.
It doesn't seem right
anymore.
I'll check it in a second. It's hanging out her backside. That could be fun.
If I can get this out.